that we're addressing and trying to figure out for the next uses. I mean, as far as I know, we haven't had any for a long time, for a period of time. But, yeah, we're concerned about it, and we believe we addressed it.
What about, what's the final fill of the day? Is it dirt? Is it dirt, or is it the alternate materials?
Both. We use both to double check everything.
Is there any way that we could do 100% dirt?
There's no reason to. The odor's not coming through the alternative daily covers.
So the question I have is, when I did the tour, what I really smelled strong there, and what I even told you, was the green waste. And so, are you using green waste as cover?
No.
So the green waste is not used for cover whatsoever.
Well, it has been in the past, but no, we're not using it now. Again, that's part of our adjustments that we make when we find out these issues coming. We try to make adjustments, we move at different locations, we have it come in at different times, and we push and spread it at different times when it's not gonna cause those odors. If it's just sitting there stagnant for a period of time, usually it doesn't smell. It's fresh stuff, just brought in, dumped out of the truck, or moved or broken open by the dozers. That's what smells. So if we can operate in a time period when the winds aren't blowing in directions and we know we can get that done, which we've been doing in the past, I think we can make it work still.
Okay. Are you, I don't know if this is part of this question, but are you, AQMD had told me that they were up there once and they saw that there was a bunch of stockpiling of green waste. Is that standard, like in the morning times?
It's standard because of the air time that we want to push it. So if we get loads that come in, the night before, we don't have time to push it, we wait, the wind conditions are correct, we don't want to cause any others coming in or whatnot. So then at that point in time, when it's open and available, we push it. So yeah, it comes in, we put it on the ground, we don't touch it for, hours at a time.
Okay. All right. I just, that was in question because the reason why AQMD told Larry told me it was because there was smells at our house. Nobody had complained. And Larry came out, didn't smell it at my house, went up to your place and saw tons of the stockpile. And so we came back and we went down. So
It's more or less a best practice that we're taking that right now to when we move it, when we handle it, and when we bring it in, to make it so it doesn't smell.
yeah, I've been gone a lot, so I actually haven't been there to smell or call or anything, but from what I've heard is there hasn't been a whole lot from my neighbors. Nobody's really complained to me about it,
Yeah,
which they usually do.
Yeah, we've seen the results of stuff that we've been doing working, so appreciate that.
Great, thanks for doing that. Steve, when I was up there on the 13th and you gave me that tour, if I understood you correctly, the landfill's now turning the fans on at 3 in the morning?
We are,
Okay, is that every day, boom, boom, for sure?
every day.
And how long do you run?
We run them until the wind speeds are either over 5 miles an hour or until the wind direction is completely changed away from Belgrade.
Okay. And what time, or what's the earliest you folks accept trucks in for trash?
3 o'clock is the earliest we accept it. That's when the gates open.
All right.
All right, I have one more question. As for the mornings, I know in the past couple of weeks I've called and is there any possible way to do something on that ridge of Jackson? The ridge of your property that I circled out on a map in your
The
office.
top, you're talking about that one?
How it comes like over the ridge down Jackson, like through that Trees Ranch, and then down Jackson. It really feels like, you can go out there and almost walk past Jackson. I think I've explained this to you.
Yeah, you felt the drainage.
And you can walk past Jackson, and it's not as bad as if you walk into Jackson. As you walk closer, it feels like a state, like in the morning. I just wonder if there's any possible way to get odor neutralizers, like what you're doing on the other side. Because during the daytime, from the low spot that you see off of Chiquita Canyon, you never ever get calls for the most part during the day. Yeah, and I'm guessing that they run. The machines are running, the odor neutralizers are running. Mike Hearns, He's been out before and he told me, you know, you guys changed the odor neutralizers or the brand or whatnot. And during the day, I don't smell it. I don't complain because it's not there. But in the morning, if I'm home during that time or up, I know it's woken me up before when my windows being open. You know that. But I really feel that Jackson's a super weak point. Is there anything that Chiquita Canyon can do to Jackson to mitigate that odor?
Yep. We're working on it.
Is anything in place right now or not?
Like I said, I'm working on it.
Okay. Alright, sorry. I'm not trying to jump down your throat. I'm just, you know.
Yeah, so from the time that we talked about it, we've been working on that issue.
Well, I appreciate
that.
Do you have any idea when you think you'll done working on
I'll definitely know more by the next meeting. Yeah, I'm hoping to say that it's complete, but I can fill you in at that next meeting what we got.
Okay, well, thank you for working with me.
Sure.
Okay,
Appreciate it. Kind of opened our eyes a little bit there too.
fifth name monitor.
Yeah. I'm not sure, everybody on the board, I'm sure has seen, I'm sorry.
One thing about the sludge, you asked about the county there was one. The county sent a letter, you copied you guys on it, see it, September 2nd, in response to questions Ray Kumar asked.
Okay.
And the first response has to do with the sludge.
Okay.
And, you know, they said that the case was closed upon compliance with condition 9A of CUP. So when we stopped taking material from their compliance, the case was closed. So that's probably why they never responded.
Okay. I guess the thing that lingers in my mind a little bit is you know, the back and forth stuff that's been going on from the landfill and other folks in response to the sludge issue. And, you know, to me, it's the way I look at it first is when I look at the 9U, it talks about a certain California code. It's very cut and dry what that code is, or what it says, or the way it reads. And I understand there could be some confusion, disparities between operating permit and that reads and other interpretations. It seems like the CUP would take precedent over, you know, by stating that definition of California. Am I saying that right? Yeah.
The response covers everything. I can't talk anymore about this.
Okay.
It's just we beat this.
I understand. So, and we're talking that there was only this time frame between 2011 and 2012 that was the question.
Whatever, we didn't take it further.
Okay. Back to methane. We went ahead and we purchased, we've been in CAC. We went ahead and we purchased 5 of these. Okay, these are methane monitors. Kind of operate like smoke detectors. These are currently calibrated to 5,000 parts per million. Although this little monitor can be calibrated between 1,000 to 10,000 parts per million, depending on the calibration gas that's purchased. So when we purchased this, we, the CAC, purchased gas in the 5,000 parts per million. So because we hadn't had a board action or didn't have a board meeting, Darcy and I kind of took it upon ourselves to install 2 of these, one's at my house and one's at Darcy's house. And they've been done, what, about 3 weeks?
Yeah.
And I recalibrated the one in my house, although I haven't done Darcy's, just to kind of get familiar with it. Neither one of them have gone off. Is that correct? So we want to go ahead and move forward with placing those within the community someplace. And some of the discussion that came up became apparent that there's a methane zone of sorts that's it's described in different regulations, which basically runs up Lincoln across, I think, Monroe, something like that. So to me, that would be the place to put these monitors. A couple of things about them. They require, initially, the way this works is once it's installed, it requires calibration every 30 days for the first 3 months, and then quarterly after that, just so that it gets right. The other piece about it is the calibration method for this. There will actually be some methane released in the person's home in order to calibrate this. Basically, there's a bottle of gas, has a hose, you set it to a certain flow rate, and you have to let it flow for 30 seconds to see if the alarm goes off, turn it off, make adjustments as necessary. So the amount of gas isn't, I don't know how to put it, as long as the people are not in the immediate area, have a fan going, it shouldn't be an issue. But people need to be aware of that, I feel. And then once that's done, it's good to go.
Until recalibrated.
Until recalibrated, right. So we haven't come up with a definite plan yet because we haven't really talked about it. But my sense is to set up some kind of a working group with the community as far as the placement of these. The methane zone would be the first priority, the way I'm thinking. Your house is outside of the methane zone.
No, it's not.
Okay, we can look at that.
I got a volunteer.
Yours is within methane zone for the oil well behind your house,
Oh, Shannon, okay, if you have an oil well.
or some well that's off of Newhall's property.
Yeah.
The map will actually show a ring,
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
and
We can,
then there's a well.
but I'm volunteering.
pardon?
I'm volunteering to.
Okay, you're volunteering, okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that should be a community thing because there's been at least 2 people that I know that have expressed interest. One I know for sure lives in the methane zone. The other person I'm not sure about. I'm not sure.
This map.
Sorry.
What was it?
Sorry. Yeah, that's fine. But anyway, so that's what I'd like to do moving forward, but I'm not sure how we're going to do that with whom and won't. So,
Well, there are a couple people from the community here, so we get the word out
what do
and
you
show some interest.
Do you want volunteers to put the monitors in their homes or something?
Well, not so, well, yes and no. I think it should really be a community call. In other words, the folks that, at least I feel, and this is just me talking again, I really feel that the folks that live in the methane zone should have first crack at it, so to speak. And then, the community could kind of
It's
see
not a
what
bad
it's-
idea having a couple outside living area too.
Yeah, it's fun.
If if Susie, correct? Susie's has good attendance, like Steve, right? These are people that are concerned about the community, and I think if they're volunteering, we can create an ad hoc committee and, spend another 6 months trying to figure something out. We can just get it out there, let's just do it, so.
Right.
If you're interested, we don't need to put it to a vote. Either of you are interested, let's just do it. But the question is, from our point of view, who's gonna handle it, because as you probably know, we're all volunteers. A little difficult, so Vince is familiar with what has to be done.
Just have a
Sure,
question
go
on say that. Do you have any kind of idea of how
state your name for the record?
Erica Larson? What about reporting any of the alarms? Like, are we keeping track of when the alarm goes off, or what's the next step behind the alarms? That's
Would be to report it, obviously, but then, it is possible that the monitor could be faulty. The way the direction reads is basically to reset it and see if it goes off again. And then, go from there.
So would they contact you? Or, I'm just interested in the channel of what that would look like for how we would gather the data from the monitors.
I would think they would contact us and the landfill. We'd have to work that with the landfill. There was a little bit back and forth when some emails were where the methane zone is being discussed a little bit. And although methane in the methane zone, so to speak, the landfill is only tied into it to help determine the source of the methane. And if it's determined to be landfill responsibility to take corrective action. It's the way that I interpret it, that particular, interpret it that way.
I thought I explained this to you, the burden, that regulation is written for new development. For a developer who wants to build a project within a 1,000-foot radius of landfill.
Right.
And that the burden is upon the developer to demonstrate that there is or isn't an issue. And if there is potentially an issue, he needs to provide a protection system for his building.
Right.
There's no retroactive issue about existing buildings and the landfill having to demonstrate anything. It's a forward-looking thing for future development.
No, I understand that, but there is I don't have it here right here in front of me. Do you have that methane, or maybe that's the email?
Thank you.
Condition 34, now this is where I kind of paraphrase it. It says here, in the event such monitors indicate discernible levels of methane gas, the committee and the landfill operator shall jointly investigate the situation. And if it is determined the landfill is the cause of such methane gas buildup, the landfill operator will take corrective action.
Condition 34
The CUP, I'd have to, I cut
So
and pasted it.
it's the CUP you're referencing, not the regulation regarding the 1,000-foot radius.
Correct, this is some of
Okay.
those within the CUP.
You didn't say that.
Okay, I'm sorry, but to me, that's a vote.
Yeah, part of CUP.
I think it'd be pretty safe bet to say you're in the house and methane thing goes off, you
Well,
want to take some action pretty quick.
Probably get out.
yeah, and the
After
other,
you run, call who?
well, the other piece of this, now, the more I've looked at this a little bit, methane, there's actually two sides to it. There's explosive safety, and then there's long-term exposure. Okay, so these meters are set more towards the explosive side. Okay, build up for explosive levels of methane. So my thought was, and once again, we need to vote on this probably, but to get calibrated gas at 1,000 parts per million to lower the level and see what happens. And I'm not saying set them all that way, but possibly the ones in the methane zone just to see what happens. So, that's the other side. There's two sides to this. So that would probably be board action, or not board action, but a vote.
And those monitors don't go that low, or they do?
will go that.
They do, okay.
Right. 1,000 is the minimum.
The 5,000 is the highest, is that?
10,000.
10,000.
Oh, okay. What was the 5,000?
That's just an
Parts-
arbitrary, right, an arbitrary, that's,
Oh, okay.
right. There's specs you used to call out, but they came default set to 1,000, and they changed it to 5,000.
Okay. Thanks.
So anyway, so we'll start trying to move forward in replacing the meters, and we'll have to wait.
I don't think we have to wait.
No, for the placement, but I mean to get the calibrated to a lower standard. Because then we gotta spend more. Sure,
I'm not sure Erica's question was answered, and I kind of have that question too. So
go ahead.
if something goes off, what do they do?
For right now, I would say they'd call us and the landfill, I feel the CUP ties them into some responsibility in the way that condition 34 reads, the CAC has some responsibility too. So I would think both folks should be notified. It would probably be the CAC's responsibility to change the meter out or something like that.
You also mentioned resetting.
Pardon?
You also mentioned resetting it.
Yeah, basically all you can do is unplug it and plug it back in. There's no real reset button. So,
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just wanted to know for recording how often they go off. If I'm assuming, would you guys keep a record
yeah, we
of
have-
that, like start a database of when they go off and where, and just gathering the data, basically, just making a record
Right.
of.
We'd have to define that obviously better.
Right.
but
Okay.
that needs to be
As long as you guys think about
done.
that.
Pardon?
As long as you're thinking about that
Yeah,
part. Okay.
We'll write a little procedure on it, but at this point, they haven't gone up, so they don't know what to do, and we know where they are.
Are they,
Right,
what are
yeah.
they set at though?
Well,
His is
where,
at 1,000, his is at 5,000.
Right,
No, they're both-
the number,
Oh, you didn't set yours down?
no, we only got the one, we only purchased the bottle of gas for 5,000.
Oh, okay.
Now, in terms of placement, these are supposed to go on vertical walls. So what I did for the ones Darcy and I have, I basically just got a block of wood and screwed these onto a block of wood. My wife doesn't like it, but it sits right on top of a table in the living room, so to speak. And that makes it the easiest to move around without using double-sided sticky tape or screwing it to some.
I got a little shelf.
Right, so.
It's great art for your living room.
I'll put it behind the pictures that are sitting there.
Conversation piece.
There you go.
Right?
What's that for? To see if I'm gonna die.
Maybe we had a bison, want to put one in my house.
I think you're a little far away.
Well, yeah, but, you know.
You may like
if I
the
get-
art.
If I get that, nothing.
I should read this now. He's
So,
trying to myself.
as far as establishing this ad hoc committee, you know, I'll volunteer to try to do that through the BBCC or whatever, unless you folks have some other ideas.
What was the, I'm sorry, what was the question?
No, establishing an ad hoc committee.
Oh.
I thought Susie was gonna raise her hand and say she wanted to take charge.
Sure.
But anyway, and part of the ad hoc committee, this is kind of rolling down into the next, the topic level, which is additional testing or different testing. The CAC had been in communication with the Civic Association for going back several months. And basically, it was, the CAC has recently provided us some recommended, at least what they feel recommended test equipment to go out and purchase, which is this EPA or EPM 5000 is what it's called. I haven't had a chance to really follow up on that. The literature's in there. The other thing that had come up also that we had started looking at a little bit prior to this was having a independent third-party person that does environmental testing come out and do a test. And so we started that, and then I picked off some of the information off the Nextdoor site of some of the 11 things that I think were identified, those compounds or whatever, and sent that to them to take a look at. And that kind of, I don't want to say threw them a curveball, but we're still not communicating right. So that's why I don't have any data from that. But approximately half of the things, of those 11 things, were included in the original bid for them as far as testing. The other things that's not clear are the additional costs. So, and that's something the board obviously would have to discuss, but that's where this ad hoc committee might come in, you know, to get some input from the community. Because when I look at it, at this stuff, that all this testing is kind of like a copy machine. It isn't the cost of the copier, it's the cost of the toner and paper you put into it. So, you know, buying the equipment and doing your own tests, that's got some kind of overhead to it, versus having somebody come in periodically and do the test, because the amount of money available to this committee or the community is kind of finite. So, when you start doing these tests, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. So it wouldn't take much to burn through that money that's there. So anyway, that's something for this committee, a little ad hoc group to talk about. So.
We did talk about the possibility that we could be doing that on a quarterly basis for a year and just see if there's anything shocking, if there's not something that doesn't come raise its ugly head, then we don't really need to continue to throw the money away. At least we could get to the nitty-gritty pretty quick that way, you know?
Yes, sir.
Would the group be able to apply for federal grants to work with a university to use our situation as a testing platform? Are you guys able to?
Probably,
There's-
we could, but applying for grants is something that may be, so.
Your ad hoc committee can work on that.
Another ad hoc item.
Because what Randy was saying, there's roughly, I don't know, 5 to 7 people on this committee, so, everybody, works also, so we're looking
Right.
for all the help we can get.
Okay.
So, that's kind of the idea behind the ad hoc thing, get the testing, and what we need to do before. Okay. Enough on that for now, right? We're good to go.
It's a review phone laws, emails, and correspondence.
Yeah, basically the only thing there is, got too much stuff in this one.
That's
Okay, in this kind of reporting period, going back to the 28th of September, basically there are 21 emails that were received at the info email address and 5 calls in the blog, going back through the telephone call. And on the copies I think that you folks have, I took out everybody's name just from the standpoint of privacy. And yes, you can have one of those too.
Could I?
I was about to hand her mine.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we have another one.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's all I really got to say about that. Most of these were order complaints, minor. There was a series of inquiries
Sure.
for minor, not minor, but that were pushed to the regional planning office and miscellaneous kind of issues.
And Vince, when you say people have responded as far as to the question or the issue they brought up under the request message, do we have copies of what the response was given? Because it just says response given, there's no response information.
I can dig up the emails for that. Like for instance, is there anyone in specific?
Well, I think anything where it says response, it says, Derek responded, Vince sent an initial response, Vince spoke with. I mean, we don't obviously have the letters from the Department of Regional Planning in response to all of Mr. Moore's emails that he made, but these other ones, there's no, there should be something for the record, I think.
Yeah, we can put that together. Just because of the mass of things, I decided to do it this way. So we have-
Oh, sure, no, I agree, but I think as part of the minutes for the committee, that should be part of the record. I
Okay,
mean, just like the response from regional planning was part of the record, it's probably best to have.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe good.
And then, the next one, varsity is
Sure. We've thought to maybe change the frequency of our meetings since a lot more people in the community has been concerned and more active in the CAC and within the CAC and the landfill. So we thought that maybe we could discuss about having more meetings instead of meeting at the bare minimum of what we are supposed to do. Maybe meet every once every other month if we can arrange that. And then maybe change the date if we can. So because like on Mondays, AQMD is closed, and so it's hard for them to get out here if they need to come here to the meeting because Mondays they're off days. And then also the location, whether or not we stay here. I know a lot of Verde residents have said that it's harder to get out here. We've looked at maybe it seems that the Castaic Town Council has a big showing almost every time there's quite a few people every time there's a meeting over there. off of, I think Franklin and Livingston. And so I don't know if anybody has talked to them to see if that building's available. Or maybe Live Oak, the Live Oak School. Also another reason is to get the community of Live Oak or Hasley Hills, something more closer to them. If they want to come over, maybe we can have the meeting there as well. So we don't really know yet. It's just something up in the air. So I don't know really how to discuss that with the landfill.
Yeah, I
Everyone
think
else.
that'd be more up to the board.
Landfill is secure, I'd rather have less and more, maybe.
Susie, did you have a question?
Not about that topic, the one before.
What was it?
I was just curious as to why Mr. Musella is sitting up there with you guys and he's not a part of the board according to the website.
You want to answer that?
I have no comment on that one. Why are you sitting here? You're the PR person for the,
John's my guest, he's a representative, just like I am, I've asked John to come.
he's a consultant for the landfill.
Okay, I was just curious because he's not listed on the board.
No, he's
Not on the board.
he's not on.
Okay.
He's not
That
on the
explains it.
board, the landfill has one seat on the board, a non-voting member, that's what.
And that's mine too. I'm an ex officio. I have one seat
Okay.
out of the 5th.
One of the things, Susie, that may help you pass that thought, and I thought about it myself, is we have one more person that has information that can lend to get more information from,
Okay.
you know, so. Get more people that we can
Half
ask
of you have
questions.
gone today. So I'm just like,
Good question, thank you.
So I
I just have-
apologize, I had to step out. So where did you end up with the frequency and the change to the day?
We're talking every other month possibly,
Right, I got that.
and maybe Live Oak or Union Castic, even where the CATC meets, whatever that building is.
You know, you're gonna have another option after the first of the year when the Cassick Library is done. They're gonna have a community room.
Okay.
That's over by Las Rocas. It's maybe a little further out, but
But that is a county facility too.
that's right.
You know how big that room is?
Big enough for it,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Big enough for me, for us, right? And you know, the other thing is where this group used to meet was at the boat, they call it the Bisque. It's at Castaic Lake.
Yeah, I told about that.
You did? Okay. Yeah, so that's another option, and these are all free.
Yeah.
So to I mentioned, you don't have to pay for them.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to add that as being in the audience at the school union, the offices, the Castaic district offices, it's really hard to hear in there when the air goes on. So I actually kind of just wanted to throw that out there, like I would.
It's kind of like being right in Valverde when all the kids were around.
Is that why the community center isn't an option?
Yeah.
Yeah, the acoustics in there.
Yeah, they echo. It's not. Yeah.
I have often wondered why they didn't put
All the
some
way
carpet on
back.
the walls or hang something like so eliminate all that balance.
But the library would be nice. I think it's a little difficult to find the Lori's office over there.
Yeah, it is. And also, the lake, they closed the lake, so you gotta go through the gate. So sometimes it's a hassle.
But we're looking into that because we heard what people were saying and we want to make it easy for everybody to participate without making it too crazy noisy like that one time. And then maybe changing the time period too. So it's number one, not 1 days. And, welcome.
I'm sorry.
This is Adelphus Farm, our planning deputy from the supervisor's office. I invited him to come. So if you have any
Welcome.
questions and
I went to Notary Park.
Uh-oh.
How was it?
Good, good. Sorority was there. You got to be back.
So, the more the merrier. Welcome. So we have to discuss what's going to work for our time periods, but since the topic is up and we have 5 or 6 of you out there, is there a better time for you guys to come? I mean, daytime, is that better for you? No? So evenings are better? Everybody works?
No, not everybody.
Oh,
I'm just going with the flow here.
Do you guys have any preferences for a building to meet at?
Something that's not echoey.
it sounds like the library's gonna be the best spot.
Library, the only other, I would, this is just throwing stuff out there. One of the things that, at least that I've heard is the distance.
Yeah.
Okay, so
To the library?
The library will be further out, because it's
So-
off of Lake Hughes.
right, so, and if Castex, echoey, then I'm thinking Live Oak would probably be the next best option. We could make that work.
Has anybody ever met at Live Oak? Does anyone know that?
Many, many years ago, but it was fine.
Was it? Does one of us want to go there and check it out?
Sure. you
All right. All right.
I guess that's what happens when you ask questions.
That's
can.
it.
I'm thinking you're around during the day, we'll talk.
That's totally fine.
Somebody might check into SCVI too.
Okay.
They have,
That'd be better.
That's
That's
much
great.
closer
actually.
That's very
for
good.
everybody.
Yes.
Which one was that?
SCVI, the charter school.
Need to have a nice room.
You check that one out too?
No, we haven't. We
No,
will.
will you?
Oh, yeah.
It's on the board.
So you just,
It's on the board, just cover it.
Oh, okay.
then we have, November, March, June, September, December, 7, 6, 12. Why do they call them dump days? They don't use dump, waste.
Community cleanup day.
Community cleanup, yeah. I got scolded on that one.
They've been calling dump days ever since I.
All right,
Yeah,
so it's March 7th, June 6th, September 12th, and December 5th.
We'll double check those dates, but, because I looked those up in 2015 calendar, but those are all the first Saturdays of the month, except for September.
Do you have it, will you guys give us your input on that?
Fine with us?
They-
And then as far as the magnets go, Vince,
It was on here to see if we wanted to do them this year.
are you guys getting the magnets and using them?
Yeah, I get them, I use them, and then I think there was some talk about something in Spanish or something, or was there?
What was the word?
So Spanish people knew, the Spanish
Oh.
speakers knew where to call?
The name is in Spanish, but for
Nothing else is.
odor complaints is not in Spanish. If you have odor complaints.
So are you asking on the magnets, you want both English and Spanish? on
Just
them?
for odor complaints, so if you smell it, because that's the one thing we found when we did knock the doors of the Latinos. We're like, oh, who do we call?
Okay.
We're like, it's on the magnet. We were actually offended. It's on the magnet, and they pulled up a magnet, and it's not on the magnet.
Okay.
But they had them.
Yes, they had the magnet, but the name, your guys' name was in Spanish.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
It was holding up their kids' artwork.
It might have been.
All right, so we'll check into that. Thank you.
Randy, on the meeting dates, December 5th is set.
Those are the dump days.
Oh, it's the date.
Yeah, that's for dump days.
Okay, we have administrative responsibilities and Derek's name was listed on that. That was an internal thing about how we divide our responsibilities, because Vanessa was doing the lion's share of all of the paperwork. And now we get to figure out where we are between us guys.
applause for you guys, have to do it.
So we get to do it. So we're gonna work that out. I don't think there's too much discussion here, but, we're always looking for volunteers. Right, Vince?
Yes, I'd like to say something. More people came in. If you know anybody that would like to be on our board, there's one seat open. Nobody's came forth yet. So spread the word. See if anybody has interest, please.
And you want us to email Rosalind?
Roz,
Yeah,
yes.
a letter, I mean,
A letter.
something, or in your email, tell me who you are, why you're interested, and make sure all your contact information is there, so.
Like a formal letter in email?
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Okay, we now have Steve's report. Chicken landfill.
I just distributed to you folks the ton and load report for the last 3 months. Third quarter, that would be July, August, September. I have that also on CD. The LAA report for August and September, we have not had the inspection for October yet. That'll come next meeting for you folks. I'm sure she'll show up any day. That is also on the CD. Semi-annual groundwater reports. There's nothing this month because it's semi-annual, so the quarter, next quarter will be the reports will come out again. And the 1151 report, both on the CD and hard copy.
So, I realize you guys don't get to look at the report right now, but those of you that are familiar with the website, we upload it, it gives us, so it's all there. The buzzword is transparent, so you can see everything we're seeing. We're just not cutting down extra trees. I hope you appreciate that. We don't want to kill that land too soon.
You had just one, correct?
There's three
Different, okay.
There's 3 reports there. No issues on any of the 3 reports from the LAA. And on the ton and load report is connected on the back for each one.
Thanks, Steve. Good night. And John.
Calls to the landfill. You know, you guys get your calls in your log. Our odor log or our call log has I had 9 odor complaints in the quarter. 7 of them in August, 1 in September, 1 in October. That is a good sign for me, just knowing that the people that do call me and give me the good information that I need to know, it's gone down over the last 2 months from 7 to 1, which is great. It means things that we're doing are working. I appreciate the effort that I get from the folks that are trying to be helpful. So, by all means, keep that up. And then, of course, the free dump day back on 9/6/14. We had 146 loads come in, approximately 138 tons. If we compare that to the last time, we had 99 loads come in and 173 tons. So a little bit less, but still a good showing.
Great. Now, then we have more people. I'd like to back up a little bit, if you don't mind, and ask if anyone has any questions. Typically, be limited to 3 minutes. If you need to speak a little bit longer and you don't ramble, then we'll let you speak a little longer and want to hear what you have to say. Like it is, and Doris and I were trying to write notes as fast as we can. See if we can help you out. We don't have paper out there, so you just want to raise your hand and announce your name loud and clear so the reporter can get that down if you don't mind. I appreciate it. Thank you. Susie, go ahead.
Susie Evans, and we are going back a ways for this. But my original question back in April was to see the minutes, the answers to the questions from January's meeting. Is that going to be put on the website, or is that like adios goodbye already?
Well, I'm going to try to answer that because that was an issue that meeting. I was.
You tried.
Yeah. Basically, the way I understand it, the questions were not documented individually by our board. So we don't have that unless somebody who's no longer with us has it. So I don't know if that's the right way to answer the question, but that's the true question.
Okay, and
So,
this court reporter here is with the dump from, if I remember, sorry, landfill. Okay,
yes, she's
Okay.
not part of our
all right.
group. So unless the landfill wanted to reproduce those questions, that would be up to them. Is there any possibility of that happening? I know everything is, the purpose is for your use. Is that something?
Totally understand if the answer is no.
I'm asking them, so let them answer.
No.
figure.
We offered the board, the CAC board a while ago, the opportunity to use the court reporter, to pay the expense, and the board decided not to.
But we would like to revisit that, because that wasn't something that this board was privy to, so maybe we can discuss that at another time. We would be interested in possibly sharing that expense if we would have the same opportunity to
I,
have notes.
I mean, the minutes have been a subject of discussion all along. Can I ask just, on a 2-hour meeting, how many pages is that? Is that an okay question?
Probably 80 to 100 pages or more. That's just a wild guess.
Yeah, okay.
I was told 23 for January's meeting, but
Well, no, okay, this is my take,
Okay.
personal take on this. It should be a synopsis, executive summary of the topics talked about, who made what motions, questions raised, but an executive summary, 4 or 5 pages. This here is, what?
Hold on, no, I can't submit it, I just have to saw outside.
Once you get into hundreds of pages, they're not meant to.
can they be put on the website then? If we're talking,
We're looking at other things, Suzie,
Okay.
the possibility of recording and then putting it on MP3 and
okay,
uploading it somewhere. So if somebody wants to listen and get their little fingers, they can type it up word for word. We try to just put it out there. We open the doors. There's nothing secretive here. So we don't have that information at this point. That's what we're looking at today. Vince and I are discussing. And
And the other thing, just, I know the subject has come up about having somebody come to. I've talked to folks over at Sunshine, their CAC, and I've talked to the person that actually does their meeting minutes and notes. And the person is not a certified court reporter, but he does take all the notes and put the minutes together. I don't know if you had the opportunity to look at the Sunshine notes, but that's put together by that person, and that's what I'm saying. He's packaging all that data up. It's not 200 pages of verbatim conversation. It's all executive summary type stuff, which to me is the way it should be.
I would much prefer personally to find somebody in the community that would like to take on that responsibility, so one can stay in the community. That's just my opinion. So if we know somebody, once we get a quote from them or a quote for them, we'll be able to compare it and then do a little more diligence in putting it in writing, or at least out there. So you can go to the gym and work out and listen to the minutes.
Is she going to package up their minutes
Pardon?
too? Is she going to be packaging up their notes? I was just going to say, that might be part of that conversation.
Right. But
Yeah,
the
no,
problem
we're
is that
talking
they have
about
they have too
joining.
much verbatim. We want the word for word.
But would they be able to package that? I'm just saying, instead of having somebody doing exactly the same thing.
We're gonna talk to them about that.
Okay, yeah.
We're gonna talk
Okay.
to them.
The person I talked to takes notes, longhand, so to speak, but, shorthand. And then he packages the notes based on it.
I used to take the notes for another group, and then what I did is I recorded it, put it on a computer, typed out everything word for word, and then edited it down. That was hours of work to do that. But somebody could do that. I mean, it's not, somebody that's not working full time like me.
are you insinuating?
Huh?
If I had the equipment, no problem.
It may be worthy just to buy the equipment for someone to do it if we can't reach some sort of agreement. But
Okay.
thank you for bringing that up. I can see where it could be valuable. Any other questions from the audience? Yep, yes.
Yeah, I don't know if this is,
Could you say your name for the record?
I'm sorry, I'm Dr. Faye Snyder. I'm
Hi.
a resident of Verde.
Welcome.
That's Faye, Snyder. There's a game show that turns answers into questions, and I can't remember what the name of it is, but I wanted to say something to you, but if I have to put it in the form of questions, I will. So, can you tell me which way to go?
Just spit it out.
Yeah, you speak
Let's
here.
spit it
It's
out?
not- it's
Okay,
not- it's
all
not
right,
good,
thank
yeah.
I do not see any possibility of any kind of agreement ever coming between Verde and the landfill unless we know the quality of the air. We must have air quality monitors, and those monitors have to deal with
You got your
13
kites.
toxins. And they have to be ongoing all the time and placed strategically near Lincoln and downtown Verde as a measure of how much the landfill air is depleting in toxicity. I would like to read off the names of the toxins, just so you know what you need to be looking for in order for us to ever be able to say, yes, we're safe, we can make a deal.
May I suggest, you're certainly welcome to read them off, but I doubt that we're going to get it all the spelling right. So if there's a way you can
I
forward.
have 3 copies of the letter that I'm writing to the county regarding, what's it called, the planning committee of the supervisors. Okay, so I can give you 3 copies now, and then,
So it has that list on it?
yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Different things.
Yeah, we did talk about the monitors earlier.
The monitor she's speaking about,
We
did.
Not just
Yes.
the
We're not talking about little lightweight monitors.
Understood. We talked a little bit about, it actually increased from 11 to 13.
Yes,
But the original 11 that I was aware of.
yes, I was made aware of 2 other toxins that we need to worry about.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. And I'm relatively new to Verde. My name's Erica Larson. I'll state it again. I think my question is that the representatives for Verde are also serving as a liaison between the landfill and the community. And I don't know if there's any discussion to try and break that up so you're not having to fill both seats, that Verde has representatives who are only there to represent Verde and not to be a liaison between the landfill and the community. I have a question about that's, I'm just wondering what, is that not a conflict?
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
The representatives from Verde are also on the board, which means that they're serving both as a representative and a liaison between the 2 parties. And that's a problematic situation because just as a judge can't be on the jury and the judge kind of situation. So I don't know if we can open a dialogue about how to create a situation where you're being liaisons between 2 parties instead of,
Who's on the board?
well,
This board.
this board.
This board is the liaison, but who's on some other board with Verde?
No, there is no other.
There is no other.
There is no
Oh,
other. That's what
okay.
I'm saying.
Okay.
There is no there's nobody here that's just strictly their purpose is to represent Verde. Do you understand what I'm saying?
But that's why the people that are on the board we have.
Right, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's a conflict because they're both a liaison and a representative, and trying to be both of those is problematic because
That's
it's-
the way it was written. It was written that they have to have so many people from Verde and rest can be outside of Verde, so we can't really change that.
Oh, I'm just asking to open a dialogue because it seems that there'd be a conflict there.
I'm having a hard time seeing where it would be a conflict, but.
I think I got it. I think I've got what she wants to say.
Let Susie talk.
Okay, I think what she wants is somebody who lives in Verde to gather up the questions and bring the questions to you guys, and you guys give the answers.
No, I want somebody from Verde to be on the board who's not a liaison.
Maybe a non-voting member.
You mean
Just
somebody to
sits
sit
Yeah.
at the table that's not officially on the board like the gentleman here?
Yes,
Okay.
like just because
Okay.
you guys are serving two functions and you should just be serving one. To be a liaison and to be a representative of one of the parties that you're supposed to be a liaison for is a problem, in my mind. Because you can't serve one function over the other.
Okay, so there's a liaison sitting over there, let's say. I mean,
Verde.
this Verde.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, what are they gonna do?
They're involved just the way that the landfill's involved. So that and that might recreate who's the liaison. But I'm just saying, because
They
these
wouldn't have
guys,
anything at stake.
But she's
Yeah.
still sitting there.
They would bring the information, the complaints, the concerns that people have that won't share those concerns. Because in the past, if you knock door to door, there's a lot of anger issues with the landfill, and sometimes they say, I won't even complain more because last time I complained, I got a citation. And well, then that person wouldn't have to deal with that because they'd come, here's some concerns that came from Verde, no names, and then they would be like, just a neutral person.
Just like
See,
Oh,
I
Steve
see,
Blake.
I
Steve
see
Lee, yeah,
that,
Steve Lee.
but I see that as our job. I mean, I really do. I see that as Darcy's job and my job and Eric's job. That to garner community input, what's going on. That's why on the local community website, I've reached out a couple of times to different people about bringing stuff here board, because I felt it was important. And so I see that as my job. I mean, is to make sure that whatever the community's feeling, that they know about it, the other people that don't have access to that website. So I don't see it.
well, if you're, as a liaison, you're supposed to be neutral.
I can be neutral, but I'm supposed to make sure that the community's concerns somehow get addressed either from regional planning or from the landfill. I can be neutral, so to speak, but listening to your question, I should be not just judgmental, but try to get the right people involved to answer it or come up with the answers.
But the fact that you have to be neutral means that you're prohibited to always be neutral. So, you know what I'm saying? Like,
The person bringing the concerns, okay.
I'd like to,
okay.
Darcy?
I'd like to add a little bit. This has been brought up to me quite a few times from the VBCA meetings.
Sure.
Other people coming to my door. And for the board, I don't know. How I perceive it is, we are the liaisons. There's, some of us are from Verde, some of us are not. But as for us that are from Verde, I know in the past how it's been is, at least what people have told me, is that, we're trying to be very open. We want this to be open so everybody sees pretty much everything. The landfill, no offense, I hope this is said the right way. You do care about us. I don't want to say it the wrong way, but
You're a business.
you're a higher, we think more about you than the community because it is, I'm getting blocked with words, but
Just say it.
and as for Verde,
Darcy, I think what you're trying to say is that the landfill meets the minimum requirements of what's required and doesn't go above and beyond.
that yes, but we're supposed to
That's
be.
a pretty strong statement, because from what I've seen, just listening to Steve in the past, I would say compared to Sunshine and all those, they do a pretty good job. I mean, to try and go above and beyond, I've been on this board the longest, and they do a lot of little extra stuff that you don't see other places that we don't even know about. So it would be too rough on them. But I see what you're saying. Maybe it might be an idea, and it's not impractical to have another person on. I mean, we could just get another seat. In fact, let's put
There's many up here.
They can't vote. But
no
they
voting.
can't have somebody that's hostile and take it away from the meeting. We have to have somebody that is going to be civil, so we need to be careful
Leaves me out.
that they can't dominate the meeting, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They have to stay on track, and they have to respect the Robert Rules of Order, even though we've been a little bit loose, because we don't want it to be too rigid for it, so you feel uncomfortable. I don't see a problem with that. So let us, and I'm talking about the three of us here, discuss it, and we'll check with the others that didn't make it today to discuss it, and reach out to you guys again, and consider that as a possibility. I can see where you're going with that, and, you know, we want it to be so that everybody feels comfortable we're doing the right thing for everybody, and I don't see personally how that's hurting anybody to have someone. But like I said, they can't dominate, they can't be unruly, they have to be civil, that's all.
And I would just say that I mean, personally, I think that the correct way to do it would have it be as many representatives from the landfill. There should be the same amount for Val Verde.
Well, I think it's kind of like you have the county, you got Val Verde.
I know. You guys have a lot of.
But whatever, you know.
Just so that there's an option.
I think we need to be clear on how the board is structured. There's 7 members of the board that are appointed by the county to serve on the board. There are 2 ex officio seats. One is from the county of Los Angeles, one is from the landfill. So, just like Roslyn tonight invited Adele from her office to sit with her at this meeting, they don't have additional votes, they don't have additional anything else, but he's a representative of the supervisor's office and has a seat on this board, just as if Mike, Dean, Steve, and I are here representing the landfill. We each have our roles in outreach and communication. There, we don't have any votes, we're here to provide information as an ex officio member of the board.
Right.
So you have 4 seats at least from Val Verde and 3 non-Val Verde folks on the board. And those 4 Val Verde representatives are meant to bring questions and dialogue to the board and represent and liaison with Val Verde.
But they're a liaison.
She's what I think Erica
Yes.
is saying is that there may be some inhibitions by someone that was from Val Verde that's on the board, and therefore it may behoove us to have someone that doesn't have that inhibition and not be. So, but like I said, we'll take it under advisement
That's all
and discuss it, and, you know, I don't know the answer to that. But I understand now where you're coming from. So
Yeah,
thanks
I'm
for
just
that.
asking to open a dialogue about it.
Thanks for that comment.
Yes. I do have one thing to say about that. We do still have a seat available for a couple other people who came in.
Again?
And for that, if there was a seat, I understand it, I just can't explain it. It's just not coming to me right now. But we have a seat on our board available, so if there was a seat available as a representative.
She's talking about something different.
Yeah, maybe I don't want to be neutral.
Well, the other thing, the question you're talking about, you know, from the community, it isn't really for us to be judgmental about it, to get the right people in here to answer those questions, like regional planning or LEA or AQMD. They're the ones that can really answer the questions, you know, not us. So all right. That's the fair first. Then
I just want to address the appearance. Like right now, I only recognize one person here that represents Val Verde. I don't know the county or anything. It just looks like there's 3 people here and 2 from the county over there, and it just doesn't feel like Val Verde is being represented. And in the past, we had Vanessa representing Val Verde, and she was so hostile to Val Verde, if that was another reason it felt like we weren't being represented. So it seems like there's a screening process too. Like I applied to be on this board at one time and I was ruled out probably because I'm a little too opinionated. So it does feel like it's been weighted to be on the side of the landfill in terms of numbers of people and their voice.
Well, that's interesting you should say that, because if you count the number of people from Verde here, I'm sure you're gonna see there's.
No, here?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm talking about here. There's only one
Sitting at the
person I
table.
recognize from Valverde here.
The
One
two
person.
Valverde, there were
Vince.
two Valverde people.
There's two from
One was
Verde.
Vanessa, and I think that the screening process
Derek.
loved her.
No, Derek is on the board, but he was caught at work, couldn't make it tonight. So there is a third person, and we're looking for a fourth person. So that is looking at the majority of people from Valverde. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, there's 4 on the board. Only 2 on the board. Good number 4. We can't possibly just listening to people from Verde like yourself. So, but I think we have a pretty good representation, because I know the people here have been outspoken when they had something to say, and we listen, and we're going to continue to listen. That's what we're here for. But what Eric is saying is maybe we might want to have someone that's listening even closer than I can listen, because I'm not in Verde, here closer to Vince, who's working somewhere, who work all. That might not sit the case. So we'll look at that. Yes, ma'am, you're next.
Good evening, my name is Abigail DeSessa. Again, thank you for volunteering. Your time is valuable. My question does pertain to this. Which person with all the nameplates here is the actual real representative from the landfill, the way that we know for sure that Miss Wyman is the real representative from the county? Which one?
Mike Dean.
Mike Dean. So these are invited guests. Okay. So are invited guests supposed to join in the conversation?
Do they get to sit up there?
Different than you do.
Okay, well, except for they're sitting up there, they're not sitting back here with us. So this is the intimidation that I think the ladies were speaking of.
Yep.
That's all. I was just trying to say that might be what it's about. I think it's more about because, Miss Wyman, of course, is sitting here all nice and calm and whatnot, and the gentleman sitting next to her, I don't know, but I don't think he's said it.
Regional planning.
Okay.
No,
Good evening.
no.
Oh,
I'm the supervisor's planning deputy.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry about that.
No,
But-
it's okay.
And I came in late, sorry, more meetings, school's back in, what can we say? So I don't know if this gentleman has been speaking where any one of have been speaking, which means it feels like there's a lot more representation, a lot more opinion, a lot more whatever
Well,
in that aspect.
Abigail, one of the things that I mentioned earlier, and I think it's before you got here, is we just have more people ask questions for us. Steve is Mike's assistant, John is the mouthpiece, if you will, so, or filter, whatever you want to call them. But we have more people to ask, and I'm glad that you were able to make it. So
Okay.
I don't look at it the same way. I look at it, because all right, we want to be able to, if they had a couple more people here, whether they should sit in the audience or not, I don't know. But, it's easier to point at them when they're right here. That's just the way I look at it. I could be wrong.
Okay. I was just trying to filter out what they were saying that I perceived them saying.
Okay.
So to echo what you're saying, I know certain things about what's going on over there, about the history. Steve does. Steve's there every day. He knows a lot more stuff about the daily operation. But there's only one of us here. Somebody asked a question about
We'll have to wait
something
3
that we
months.
don't know about, and I know that the other person doesn't know. So
I just want to piggyback off of what Abigail was saying. I think that one of the major differences is the communication within the group. That if they're included in the communication, as you guys are with the board, as being non-voting board members, that's something that we aren't getting. So that isn't the same. Like they're part of a conversation and communication that you guys have outside of the meetings. And so that, I feel like that's an important factor that doesn't exist with
Say
those of
it
us
again
out here.
So it can sink in.
Okay? Am I speaking fast?
I'm just a little slow.
Right. Well, I mean, we have, we're limited to 3 minutes right now, and they are not.
Well, normally.
Normally, I mean, in your bylaws. But the other factor that I'm bringing up is the communication that you guys have outside of the meetings. If you have any, these guys have access to that. They're part of this board. They're sitting up there. So they have the reports that just came out, you know, and we don't. So that's a discrepancy between these guys being guests up here.
We talked about
And it-
reports.
Well, we're not guests, we're ex officio members of the board, and we actually produce the reports, we give them to the committee, and then the committee actually puts those reports up online so that everyone can see them.
Right, but you're also receiving communications from the rest of the board.
Because
You're also-
We exist as an ex officio member of the board.
Right. I'm just saying you're regularly getting, you're part of the communication, you're part of the communication process here in the meeting, but also outside of the meeting.
Because it's a liaison committee and we're a member of the board.
Right, which that's kind of what I was saying, like, that the Val Verde also should have an equal part of that communication outside of the meeting, instead of you guys, you know, facilitating the meeting is what I'm saying. Watch out, Mike.
I mean, I've been involved with the board since 2005, since I was a member of the board, and I've attended Val Verde Community Advisory Committee meetings on a regular basis, and the board here has had a representative in almost every one of those meetings on a monthly basis for years. So I think there is definitely great communication between the two organizations.
The only one that's been here longer than John and I is Mike Dean. I mean, it was Bob Router before Rosin, so we've been here since, like you said, '05. And we've had the meetings over at Chiquita Landfill in the trailer. We thought it would be better to move out. I did, and John agreed, and that's what we did. So we've been trying to make it transparent ever since we got the dictate from an attorney I saw at one time. And that's what we continue to do. So we're only improving, and we can only improve when we get the input from you. So thanks for your input, and if it seems slow, just remember there was nobody at these meetings 3 years ago.
But is my question clear, though, what I was talking about, the communication
I understand what you're
situation?
saying.
Okay, that's really all. I just wanted to piggyback off.
Another party sitting at the, yeah.
Cynthia Kimura from Val Verde. Could we just try it? Because it seems like a lot of people are kind of uncomfortable with that situation where there's, 3 guys up here and they can kind of speak whenever they want. Would it be okay to just try it where you have the one representative up there and he can't answer something, he can point to whoever, Steve or, John, and just say, oh, John, can you answer that for me? And it would kind of give a different feel, I think, too. I think what Erica's saying, you do want to have that equal feel.
Okay.
Are you guys asking for more or less a non-voter?
Yes.
person
Yeah.
on
Yes.
To sit at the table.
the-
For balance.
Yeah, and then that way,
For balance.
that way, because these are the concerns, no one's gonna yell at him.
How about
And then the person who brought him is not gonna be so intimidated either, because that was, some of the people that said they won't come anymore because they didn't like the way they were treated. Well, that's eliminated. You told him what you felt, he came here, he'll go back, or she, hopefully she.
Okay.
I just want to make one comment. That car alarm was my car alarm going off. And again, if somebody's damaged it because it's a black car in the black night, I'm not going to be a happy camper.
I didn't do it. I'm right here.
I didn't do it.
Okay, you guys are all safe.
Okay, so any other questions from the audience? Were your 3 minutes? I hope you feel better. I don't see, when we had that large group a couple of times, if we gave more than 3 minutes, we would get out of here pretty late. And some people are going a little bit funny on the. Okay, Darcy, you want to go back to the CCL report after questions to the.
Yeah, this is for, Chiquita Canyon. Now, forgive me for asking this. You said the October reports, they're not done?
No, it hasn't been, they haven't had an inspection done yet. So they don't give us a report until after the inspection.
Okay, so one question I have from you. From the first report here, dated August 6th, it says AQMD and the landfill staff have not been able to justify complaints.
So you said, to the,
This one that you gave me?
August, okay.
August 6th, says AQMD and landfill staff have not been able to justify complaints. Is that standard to put that on all reports if that is the case? Or, I mean, who is Nellie the one that does these?
She writes the reports, it's her, she writes.
So she doesn't have to talk about it like.
We don't see them.
It has nothing to do with us.
4 or 5 days later when she sends it to us.
Okay, so like, the reason why I'm asking is in, I believe it was September, AQMD did have verified complaints, just not enough for an NOV. So, I don't see that in here.
She's writing about the day she's there. She comes and does an inspection one day, she writes about that day.
So, this day she did the report on August 6th.
Correct.
That is the, why does it say that I complained on August 4th and it talks about me?
Because she saw it in the records.
Well, I'm just saying, you say she writes these reports.
She does occasionally have conversations with Larry, if he's in
Right.
and around the neighborhood. So at this point in time, I can't speak for her, but it could have been a possibility again. She ran into Larry in the neighborhood and had a conversation.
Okay,
We don't know, what she actually does outside the site, but
Maybe Larry was with her.
yeah.
I was just wondering because, if these are gonna be on our site, to me, it makes it sound as if there is not justifiable complaints, when in fact it has been. So, that was my, and I'll have those reports next meeting. But, if this isn't you guys that write this, it's all her and it's up to what, she can write whatever she wants. I just wondered if there's, any difference in how she's supposed to monitor, and that maybe that's something to talk to her
For
to.
her, yeah.
That's an LEA. That's an LEA.
And then the other question, next question is actually about her too, so.
Well, Darcy, maybe
yes.
what we should do is, maybe the next meeting, depending on what it is, we can get LEA out here and answer those questions.
That might be good.
Because they're the people that generate the bill. So, find out.
Alphabet soup.
Okay.
Can you guys clarify who
What
that
LEA
is
is?
and who you're speaking about?
Lead enforcement agency.
Lead enforcement agency. She works for the county, she comes out to our site once a month at least and does a report on the landfill, because it's basically a
So he,
inspection.
And what's her name again?
Her name is Nellie.
Nellie.
Castellanos.
All right, I'll Google. It's good.
Now, is that what the lead enforcement agency, is that with public health?
Yes.
Okay. So that's the part of the county.
The L stands for.
Oh, it does? Thank you.
Stands for
I
what?
heard it was lead, and I.
What does it stand for?
Okay,
Local.
Local.
Okay, so I don't know if I'm following this correctly, but earlier, there was a statement that there had been a decline in complaints or something like that, and now I'm surmising that comes from a single visit once a month, which sounds like a very poor sampling to me.
No,
No.
that's not. Steve, you made the comment, but
Yeah.
you answer.
And the reports that I do for the board, I give updates on what the Chiquita County landfill gets as far as complaints. And my report complaints were 7 in August, 1 in September, 1 in October. So that was the declining. What Nellie gets as far as odor complaints, I don't know. I don't know what the LEA gets and what she writes in this.
Okay, so it's two different sources taking complaints.
Right, and then of course the board has their hotline that they get their information.
Plus AQMD takes.
So it's four complaint hotlines, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
Never the twain shall meet.
It's hard to track.
Okay, I think we've covered everything on the agenda.
Abigail?
Oh, all right.
Abigail DeSessa, Mr. Darcy Stinson. When you said that you knew of a verified complaint, was that through AQMD?
Yes.
Okay, because there was one last week as well.
Actually, didn't you tell me you thought there were 3?
Well, during my time, I was told there was three done, but that was not last week.
No, this was in October, this was just last week.
Okay.
There was, I know of one specifically.
Cynthia Kimara, are we supposed to call LEA? Or no? Or just AQMD, landfill, and you guys?
Got another,
I-
got
I- I
another
just
number on that thing?
LEA.
You know,
Our
I,
number's not up there.
the,
Is that
From what I-
something you could-
I mean, you can,
Yeah, go ahead.
yes,
Okay, Dallas Garwood, Supervisor in Challenger's office. You can call public health and file a complaint. You can call the county planning department and file a complaint. And it would all kind of get routed through the same person. Oscar Gomez is our planning person who would file a complaint. But again, that's, now you're creating another avenue that we would have to go through, so.
Is there a pool? Is there a pool where all your?
It's in my backyard.
Guys?
This is the pool right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the pool we're trying to,
The source of the data is from several different.
Sometimes when complaints go to planning, they kind of corral the other departments, but it still creates another.
So how does, I mean, is this the place where that data is shared and compiled and, you know, because
it's compiled and it's been shared on the website, what we get in terms of forms.
but for these guys to know like the correct number of complaints that they're receiving and when they're receiving, that seems very important.
Well, when you say correct number, they're
Well,
different,
'cause it-
different, we go to
right.
different locations.
Are you guys getting
Darcy
the-
can call 3 places, and someone can call 1, so that doesn't count as 4 necessarily, so.
Let me ask you, this is for the landfill. Every time AQMD does come out, they go over to the landfill.
No,
Not every
No.
time.
Not every time. Do they give you or provide you with some source of data?
no,
Just
we have to get it the same way you do.
What Darcy is, and this is to kind of address your question, I think, Eric. Part of what Darcy is trying to do with AQMD is to get data on a regular basis. How many calls, what day, what month, all that kind of stuff. Ideally, in a perfect world, we would like to display that on our website, similar to Sunshine does. Because of the difference in what's going on between the two landfills, AQMD has been corralled, that they provide that to the Sunshine landfill because of the number of issues and what's going on. As yet, they won't do that for us. They're saying that we need to, what was that thing they want us to do?
it's a public records request.
Request for information. So.
We have to manually do it
Right,
every time we want.
Each quarter?
but
We set it up.
AQMD doesn't provide all the charts that you see on Sunshine lines.
I'm sorry, if you reached me that they was a public records list, if you wanted to get that information.
Yes.
Yes.
We can work on it. That's not.
Really?
We were able to get it for Sunshine because they had a
Yes.
bunch, I mean, they had a lot of issues at Sunshine.
Thank you.
But that's not ordered. The county information, even though it could go to public health and you can go to code enforcement, it's pretty easy to gather the info by just contacting local departments, telling them to put that information together and sending it to us. AQMP should be giving you that call. So
Okay.
we'll look into that and make
Oh,
sure.
That would
thank
be
you.
great.
That'd be fabulous. I have the emails.
Okay.
I'll
Do you want me to have
talk
extra?
to Mark.
I guess you have that word.
Thank you, Rosalind.
You want to cover?
Good choice.
Thank you, all around.
So one of these days you're gonna see a chart up there, or a graph. Board. Okay, any other questions? Any other agenda items?
Some of these things we need to keep track because this is really.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'm sorry, I don't get to come up to these meetings that often. If there are any questions from the supervisor's office or from the planning standpoint as to what's going on, feel free to ask me. Nothing, I can come back to another day if there's any.
What's your last name again?
Thanks for coming.
Yes, thank you.
Send the emails from AQMD.
Yes, I will do.
Suzie, do you have something you want to say last week?
No, I wanted to know what his last name was. You got the card, so I can get it from you.
Discard.
Discard.
And on the website, the supervisor's website, I can give you a card.
Great.
Just to be clear, I contacted him 3 times via the internet.
Did you go do this through Debbie, or did you go through directly to Debbie? And Debbie didn't get back to you? Okay, when we get to tomorrow, I get me on this. Debbie's the supervisor's liaison today.
Thank you all for
Oh,
coming, I
please don't do
appreciate your patience with the new board, I hope that we can better serve you.
Thank you.
Already.
Okay, thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.